of driving improvement in product. I mean, if you look at the flu vaccine studies, the large-scale meta-analysis studies that are done by the Cochrane Collaboration, and the Cochrane Collaboration, for people who don't know, is an international collaboration of researchers, scientists, doctors who pool together. That there's no industry money taken for these studies. They never get funding from industry, and they're really considered the gold standard. I mean, governments around the world look to Cochrane for outcomes. Every time there's been a meta-analysis done on flu vaccine by Cochrane, it's always ended in the same, the same note that it really doesn't do very much. I mean, you have to vaccinate 100 healthy adults to get one less flu, and that's at best. That's in the best of times, right? So you've got to deal with matching the flu strain. That's one issue. But even if you've matched the flu strain, first of all, let's talk about the real numbers. Who really gets flu? How many people really get flu? I mean, the CDC would love to have you believe that thousands of people die from flu every year, just in the United States alone. And I'll give you a great example. 2001. 2001 was a big year for upper respiratory infection, and there's reason for that, just like last season was a big year. Every 11 years, we have this cycle of increased upper respiratory infections, and it has to do with sunspots and UV solar radiation reaching our atmosphere and vitamin D levels that are stored in the summer. And so it really has a lot to do with vitamin D, because vitamin D drives our innate immunity. So we have these cycles. So 2001, the last great big cycle for upper respiratory infection, the CDC published that about 60,000 people in the United States died that year of flu. Okay, well, Peter Doshi and his crew, and Peter Doshi is a postdoctorate fellow at Johns Hopkins, who's really wonderful and is just an amazing analytic scientist. But at the time, he was still getting his PhD at MIT. And he actually looked at this because he was studying Tamiflu and he was working with Cochrane. And it turns out that out of the 60,000 people that the CDC said died of flu that year in the United States, there were 18 confirmed deaths from influenza. I mean, that's like, 18, not 1,800 even, or 18,000, but 18. I mean, that's just a huge discrepancy. I mean, the discrepancy is so great that it's, and then if I don't remember the gentleman's name at the CDC who talks about how they guesstimate, but they admit that it's a guesstimate based on the best, resources they have. But what they do is they pool all deaths that in the winter that have anything to do with respiratory symptoms together, and they all label them as flu deaths, whether they've even documented flu or not. Last year we had a lot of flu-like, what we call it ILI, influenza-like illness, but if you look